Hello and welcome to another episode of Thursdays with Tracy. Of course, I'm Tracy, and before I start, I want to remind everyone to please like, share, subscribe, and support us on Patreon. The link's right there in the description. I have a lot of things to talk about, so many that I made a list. So we're going to just go over this quickly, then I'll get to it. I got things from police brutality in Indianapolis. I got Democrats backing down the $3.5 trillion infrastructure. Of course, got to talk about Dave Chappelle, John Bruton. I want to talk about a story that's not getting a whole lot of play. Apparently, Brett Favre uh, got money for welfare relief that he had to pay back. Totally weird. And I want to talk about why Biden is putting Harris out overseas when I think I'm like, he shouldn't be doing that. So, like I said, it's a lot of things to get to tonight. And so I'm looking at my phone because I thought I was going to have some guests, but I can do this solo if need be. Like I said, I'm just trying to get myself situated because I literally just got all these situated. And you'll have to forgive the poor lighting. I'm not in the room that I'm normally in. Um, there's a whole long story of me trying to set up my bed in my old room, so I had to move my old bed into the living room. It's a futon, so I moved it from the bedroom to the living room. I still haven't got the new one set up yet, so hopefully I'll get that all squared away tomorrow. Who cares? I'm ready to go. So, first thing I want to talk about is police brutality in Indianapolis, and I'm gonna have to cheat and use my phone today because I want to read the entire story because it was amazing to me um, what happened. So I'll give you um, some background on this. So apparently, for those of you that are not from Indianapolis, we have a section of town called the Circle. Um, and what'll happen is it's like Indianapolis is like the center of the state. And then at the center of the state, of course, is Indianapolis, and in the circle. So that's where everything kind of takes place at. Um, so there was a police action that happened. And so this is what I want to say. So two Indianapolis police officers were actually charged with assault. And that's something you rarely see. Um, and I'm trying to get the story. Let's see. Let's see. We're gonna show this one more time. Like I said, I want to read the whole story. Um, so the sergeant that got suspended is named. If I could get this to work, we would be right there. So apparently, this was all caught on a body cam. I'm gonna get this story straight if it's the last me. So it's caught on a body cam, and police officers in Indianapolis say now wear body cams, and they're trying to go out and use those. Um, and this took place in like broad day, like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So this wasn't at night where you couldn't see anything. You could clearly see what happened. So apparently, Sergeant Eric Huxley is caught on a police camera stomping the head of a gentleman. And I'll get to the gentleman's name here in a moment. So let's go back. The sergeant, of course, who is shown stomping, is white, and he's being charged with 2 felonies, and he's a 14-year veteran. So he was charged with official misconduct and battery with moderate body injury. Now, of course, this article still isn't telling me whose head got stomped yet. But what's happening is there's now a federal investigation of this matter. And the person whose head stomped, his name is Jermaine Vaughn. And apparently he was arrested, or he was handcuffed, doesn't say why. He was thrown to the ground. His head was stomped. Um, and it just, this type of thing, it just keeps happening. And if it wasn't for a body cam or somebody probably recording with their phone, we would never know anything about this. And so I want to read this whole statement by the police department here, and I think they're handling it in a way that surprises me. So here it is. Oh, and I'm sorry, I didn't mention that Huxley is suspended without pay. And Taylor, the head of the police department in Indianapolis, is going to recommend him for termination. So apparently, this officer pretty much is going to lose his job. So the statement says here, I'm upset. It hurts me to see any of our officers treat someone the way that you're going to see here shortly. No excuses for it. Taylor, who's the head of the department, said while referring to the body cam footage released on Vaughn's arrest alleged for disorderly conduct. I promised the community and I promised our officers that I would be transparent. That's in good times and in bad times. This is a bad time. Well, no duh. This police brutality has to stop. And I used to be one of these people that believe, oh, we should just, do some reforms. And then I moved towards defunding the police. I'm almost to the point where I'm just like, just abolish the police. They apparently just love just doing whatever it is they want. He didn't just learn this. It seems like to me that officers like him are trained to do this. They just go in, they do whatever it is they want to do, and it's like, what is it going to take for the communities across the country to hold police accountable? Their budgets increase for literally no reason. And people who say, oh, well, you have to increase the police budget. Well, really? Crime isn't decreasing. The murder rates in Indianapolis, I don't know about other cities, but the murder rate in Indianapolis is increasing. Their budget increasing didn't decrease the murder rate. Police are saying they're arresting more people than they ever have. So what's the purpose of increasing their budgets? It just bothers me that the police are upheld to this standard of perfection, but incidences like this, they're not doing that. And like I said, I used to be one of these people that said, hey, we should defund the police and give the money to community groups. But now I'm just like, I just don't know anymore. I just don't. I don't want to teeter towards just getting rid of the police, but they're just not showing any type of accountability. So they didn't say. They said that the gentleman whose head was stomped on, he was arrested for disorderly conduct. But I wonder, is there going to be a lawsuit? I suspect that he's gotten calls from plenty of attorneys. So that'll happen. But again, that just drives me to the point of just so angry. And whoever that person is out there, just say hello in the comments. I appreciate you watching. Another thing I wanted to talk about was a story that I just learned about today. So for those of you that do not know, there is a former football player named Brett Favre. He played for the Green Bay Packers, the Minnesota Vikings, and the Jets, New York Jets. He retired way back in um, some year, I forget. Apparently, um, Mr. Favre has decided to take some money. And this is another one I'm going to have to use my computer on because I'm really cheating here today. So this is going to be really different for me to be cheating this much, but I have to. Okay, so according to Bleacher, which is a sports article, a sports organization, the Mississippi Office of the State Auditor sent a demand to the former NFL quarterback Brett Favre seeking a repayment of $828,000 for welfare money that was illegally received and spent. How did he get that? We'll talk about that in a bit. So Lee O'Sanlon of the Clarion Ledger reported Tuesday that Favre, who received $1.1 million in funds from the Temporary Assistance for Needy Families or TANF program through the Mississippi Community Education System, repaid $500,000, but the state auditor Shad White seized the remaining portion. So he got some money, 1.1 million, paid 500,000. Now he owes the 828,000. 2 years ago, my office audited the Department of Human Services, White said. After 2 years of work, we found tens of millions of dollars in misspending. The founding now have confirmed this month by independent forensic audit commissioned by the DHS. Mississippi had previously requested that Favre return the money while the DCS audit was ongoing, but it wasn't legally mandated at that time. He's under no obligation to do so other than him giving his word. Logan Reeves, a spokesman for White, told Leah Willingham of the Associated Press in May. Some of these people got some names here. The demand issued by the state auditor Tuesday is a civil action that can now be taken to a judge to force repayment if this is not made. In May 2020, Favre posted a statement on Facebook saying that he was offered the money for making appearances and didn't know where the funds came from. Let me stop there. So this is not no broke boy. This is not somebody that's struggling. They need SNAP benefits or TANF benefits. This isn't somebody struggling to pay their rent, pay their utilities. This is, let me see what Brett Favre's net worth is. Because this is just like, are you serious? So Brett Favre's net worth, according to what I am seeing, in 2020, he had a net worth of $100 million. Could somebody explain to me why you would give TANF benefits to someone that's getting that's worth $100 million? What? You sit here and you think, oh, let's just give him this money, but let's deny a family that really needs it. And this is just, I hate to use the term white privilege. I hate to use the term white privilege, but I have to use the term white privilege. If this were a person of color, i.e. black, they wouldn't even, first of all, they wouldn't have gotten 1.1 million. Let's just be honest. Second, when the government overpays something, don't they just, they'll send a letter saying, hey, pay it back. But then don't they usually come for your pay? I'm just not understanding this. I want to hear from him just myself because I gotta hear more about this. Oh, hello, complex mind, simple man. Hello, how are you? Um, just I cannot with this. And then the worst part of the article, I haven't even got to the worst part. Worst part was this mess. I was like, are you serious? Hold on a second. Let me go backwards. Okay. This is the worst part. I was like, are you for real? And then, let me read the last part. I was like, okay. Yeah, and I was wrong. Last year he earned $137.8 million. Um, and how do I get a piece of this money? If I had no conscience, no morals, I'd be good to go. I'd be good to go, take this money and just go. He earned $137.8 million in contract throughout his career. He's currently worth $100 million. He retired, of course, in 2011, Hall of Fame in 2016. That's just, oh my gosh. Like, I'm sitting here thinking of all the families that need SNAP benefits and what I think SNAP is for. I always thought SNAP was for what most people call food stamps. That's what I thought SNAP was for. What kind of law allows this to happen? Don't they look at the income structures? Apparently not. Apparently not. This is well known as a tax break. How did I know? How did I? I should have just guessed it, that it had to come under Trump and Carson. It bears no relation to me, but I should have guessed it before I even started. Oh gosh, I cannot, because again, I'm still thinking of those families. SNAP, I thought, was for things like food, for families, not for millionaires to get whatever it is that they want. And there's no word from him that he's going to pay this $828,000. So it's just there's he hasn't made any kind of public comment yet, and this is just, I'm trying to think what else. There's no word about him paying anything. He hasn't said one word about paying. Yep, Mississippi is threatening to sue. Ooh, that threat. Yeah, let's just look for that. Let's see, Mississippi is probably a red state. Farva's a Trump supporter. Don't think anything's going to happen, but we're going to move on to my next subject because I said I'm going to try to get to this whole list of things, which you can't see. Whole list. Look at that list. You can't see any words on it, but I can. I want to talk about the infrastructure debacle. So there's two infrastructure bills. There's the $1.1 trillion bill that Senate Republicans and Senate Democrats formed some kind of committee and they have a package. And then there's a $3.5 trillion infrastructure package that includes like human infrastructure, childcare, Medicaid negotiations to make prescriptions less. The reason I'm bringing this up again is I don't understand how the Democrats want to win. I still think that they purposely try to lose. Now there's word that Nancy Pelosi is saying, "Oh no, we should cut some things." Well, what part is it that you're going to cut? You're going to cut. You're not going to negotiate prescription costs. You're not going to give people, help in taking care of their elderly parents. What part is it that they want to cut? Um, I know on my other podcast, the Progressive Queens, I talked about, Joe Manchin telling the progressive Democrats, you need to pick one that you want. And how do they show themselves in their home states? I'm pretty sure when they campaign for office, they don't just say, I stuck to my guns and I told them, you can only pick one, and the other two you gotta let go. Um, I don't know. I just don't understand why the Democrats want to lose. I don't understand it. I know I keep asking the same question every week, and it makes no sense to me. It literally makes no sense to me. Um, I still don't think the 3.5 trillion is enough. I think it should have been 7, maybe 8. But it's just as though people like Manchin and Sinema and Coons, they take pleasure in watching people suffer. And I can't. I can't. I can't. I can't. I can't. I can't. I just don't know what it's going to take for the Democratic Party to wake up. We know the Republicans are garbage. We just literally know they're garbage. They're not going to be anything but garbage. Garbage through and through. But the other side is starting to turn into garbage too. And I'm like, okay, could we just, I don't want anybody to go all January 6th on anybody. But we've got to vote some of these people out and replace them with people that are going to have our issues in mind, because this is just utter ridiculousness. It's just so silly that we're having an argument about, which one of the 3 major tenets you want to save. But yet we increase our military budget year after year after year with no questions. The debt ceiling increases every year. Usually there's questions, but eventually it gets increased. And it's infuriating. I think one of the things that Manchin said he was concerned about was how much things cost. And I wonder, was he concerned about that when he voted to increase the military's budget? How much is it going to cost? Are the costs worth the supposed benefit? It just, I can't anymore with these excuses. That's the point. I'm so tired of excuses. If this doesn't change, it's going to be a bloodbath in 2022. And trust me, I don't want the Republicans to get control of the House. I don't. But I don't even see why Pelosi would just put it out there. Oh, well, we could cut this and this and this. Aren't you for Biden's agenda? Unless Biden himself is for cutting it, which I haven't heard anything about that. And so it's just so infuriating. And I use that word so much because I don't know another word to use. I agree with that. We need DC, Puerto Rico, Guam to be states. To absolutely positively agree with that. Absolutely agree with that. Absolutely positively agree with that. But like I said, I want to keep this show as short as I can because I got a bunch of stuff to do tonight, but that's okay. I wanted to talk about the Dave Chappelle comedy special and then the John Gruden thing, because they're kind of intermingling. And I'll explain what I mean. So, Dave Chappelle had a comedy special recently. And he talked about, basically in a nutshell, he says, He said that when a black person is killed or offended, no one really cares. But if you offend a woman or someone that's gay or someone that's transgender, that's where the big blow up is. And there were calls to cancel him because, cancer culture is rapid. And there were some people that were saying, he's a comic, this is comedic license, you got to let him tell his jokes. But there were a couple interesting things about that. One is Netflix. There have been some rumblings that Netflix was going to release him from his contract with Netflix and stop showing the special. Well, they decided not to do that. But they also suspended two workers of theirs that criticized Chappelle. And I don't know the background of those two. I'm sorry, this is getting in my face. I don't know the background of those two, whether they were women, men, trans, not trans, I don't know. But I thought that was a really interesting move. And the reason that I'm tying this in with the Jon Gruden thing is Jon Gruden was the coach of what you all call the Los Angeles Raiders, but I will not. I will still refer to them as the Oakland Raiders playing in Los Angeles or Las Vegas. He used to be the coach, and apparently the NFL was investigating, and if I slip, I do not mean to be offensive to our indigenous population, but the Washington football team. I'm going to have to force myself to keep saying that and not slip and go back into my old thing. So the NFL was investigating the Washington football team for some reason. And then there were emails that Gruden sent from 2011 to 2018. And these emails, he went off about things like President Obama, Vice President Biden. He said he questioned whether women should be allowed to be referees. He didn't like his athletes in the NFL taking a stance towards issues of social justice. And he said some really derogatory comments about the Players League competitor. But I see Marlon's in there, so I'm going to bring him on because I want to get some thoughts on this. Let me bring him on here. Hello, sir.
I thought you said 6:45.
It's always 7:30. Always 7:30.
All right, what we talking about today?
I started talking about Dave Chappelle. Well, we talked about a lot of things, but now I'm talking about Dave Chappelle comedy special and how it relates to the Jon Gruden fiasco. He said some pretty racist things. And, when they first came out, he was still allowed to coach. The Raiders didn't suspend him, the first racial ones.
Yeah.
They didn't suspend him, he was allowed to coach. But then, when emails further came out saying that, he was against gays playing in the NFL, he was against the transgender community and against women, that's when he resigned. And it kind of feeds into what Chappelle was talking about in his comedy special. Because when and I'll tell you why I think this, and because I want to be fair, I love all people. I just want to say that just right out the bat. But when just the racial ones came out, you had Tony Dungy defending Gruden. You had his former, and I can't think of the other black guy on the NBC broadcast. You had all these people defending him, saying, "Oh, he's not racist. He doesn't have a racist bone in his body." Now they're all quiet.
Yeah, because they probably didn't know about all of that.
Correct.
The difference between Dave Chappelle and Jon Gruden, and it is not the statement, it's their position. Dave Chappelle gave his opinion. When you like it, or dislike it, or agree with it, or disagree with it, whatever. It was his opinion, and his opinion only emotionally, and if it gets into the wrong group of people physically, um, affects other people. John Gruden saying those things about the blacks, about gays, about trans, he is in a position of picking and choosing players for his team.
And
So
that's what I found odd because he used to, when he was coaching, there is a gay player on the Raiders team right now.
yeah,
So he's telling that player, I don't want you on my team. He's telling all the black people on that team, I don't want you on. Who does that leave?
and you have to start thinking to yourself, how many gay or black players did he not choose because they were gay or black, and God forbid both. But how many players did he not choose, or how many players did he downgrade because they were gay? This is this right here pretty much just showed um, the whole thing started off with them investigating the Washington Redskins.
Yep. The
And
Washington football team. We
if
gonna
there ever was a team that was top to bottom the most toxic football team
mm-hmm.
ever, to the point, do you understand how toxic your team have to be where it affects somebody who never played for your team, never coached for your team, never was a GM for your team? Gruden had nothing to do with the Washington Redskins ever,
Well,
other than
no.
his brother.
Yeah, let me
Other
back
than,
up. Yeah, let me back up for one little thing where you might be missing because I totally agree with you. But he was doing most of these things when he was an analyst at ESPN. So he was friends with the president of the Washington football team, and he
uh,
sent emails to the CEO of Hooters.
well, you could have stopped at the president of the Washington Redskins. So we're
Now
talking
you're
about
gonna keep calling them the Redskins. They're the Washington football team.
the Washington football team. Um,
We don't want to be offensive to our indigenous people. All one of them watching.
well, I truly apologize because, to be honest with you, everybody's making a joke about it, saying, so you're just going to be the Washington football team forever? Why not? Because you had no problem using an insulting, derogative nickname for Native Americans for decades. Now, now,
Exactly.
now you want to have a now you want to have a say because it's the football team. What are you?
Yep, exactly. Let me bring up
But
this comment. Yeah, but I totally agree with you. I just wanted to make sure that we knew how he was connected to Washington football team because I'm like, he was just an analyst. Who
well,
cares?
if he if those emails were going to the president of the Washington football team, that makes so much sense. Tracy, I don't know if you know this. There was so I hate to keep using the word toxic, but they were so terrible of a managed team.
Yeah,
And
they
I'm talking
were.
about the organization. I'm not talking about the team. I mean, the team sucks too, but that's neither here nor there. I'm talking about the office. It got to the point where I was really starting to read the stories about it. It was just like, how did you employ people? Like, how did you even keep people in the organization? And as
Exactly.
a player, I would even want to think, I don't even want my name or associated with this team.
Yeah, it's like if you got drafted there, be like, ooh, no, send me someplace else.
No, I will pull a Peyton Manning in a heart.
Eli Manning.
Eli Manning in a heartbeat. I ain't coming. Nope.
Yeah, and that's what. Oh, I like this one. Came down to a power dynamic. Gruden had power and responsibility. They just picked up a mirror, and people didn't like what. Exactly. That's exactly correct. because what Dave Chappelle said, like that comment is saying, he's a comedian. If you don't like the joke, don't listen to it. Just okay, just go about your day and just be fine with it. I personally don't think Chappelle is all that funny of a comedian. I know people gonna just kick me and say, "Hey, you don't know what you're talking about." Me, but
You're gonna really enjoy my show Saturday.
I think what we have to look at is what he was essentially saying. When you put the focus on Black Americans and what we go through, everybody wants to turn a blind eye, whether that's subconsciously or consciously. People didn't listen to us when we talked about police brutality. People didn't listen to us when we talked about other things. And until it came to light, that's when people started listening.
I'll say this once, and I'll repeat it this weekend. Um, I don't think I'm spoiling anything. I only had one issue with what Dave Chappelle said, and only one issue, and that was his association with the turf community. That is my only issue with what he said. Was I just really wish he did not associate himself with a white supremacist hate group. That was my only issue, and I don't know if he knew that. But when I started looking up the, is it TIF or turf? TERF. I think it's turf. When he associated himself with that group, and people need and by the way, for anybody that's listening, please look the group up because I have had several conversations and it all end with, well, maybe I need to look the group up first before I say it. Yeah, look the group up first before you say anything. These are really terrible people, and I do mean terrible people. They basically the KKK of the transgender community. That's just pretty much what they are, and they have no qualms using violence to push their agenda. That being said, that is literally the only thing that I dislike what Dave Chappelle said. The rest of it, I totally agree. I absolutely agree. Because one part of the thing that he did say that I absolutely agree with is even if even in a transgender community, if you white, you still be allowed to call the police. Can't do that when you're black.
Nope.
You're taking a 50-50 chance. And as time goes on, it's about to be 75-25. But if you still white, even if you're trans, even if you're gay, you're still white. You still have that privilege. You may not think you do. You may not want to have it, but neither one of those things is going to stop what reality is.
Yeah, and I think that's the and connecting this again to Gruden. I think that was just there's such it's like what Gruden did. Well, it's like what Dave Chappelle said. Gruden brought to light. It was like,
Right.
oh, if Dave Chappelle's comedy was a person, it would be John Gruden. I mean, he literally, and I'll say this point again, he was literally when everybody thought, oh, it was just racial. Okay, don't do that anymore. That was a bad thing to do. Not that one community is less important than another. I want to make that clear.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, when the focus is put on one community because they are privileged, but they happen to be in a marginalized community, you still have that spotlight shine on you because you still have a skin color that's going to cause that spotlight to shine on
NFL, with all this progressiveness, and I will say they progressed a tiny bit. Not enough for me. Will I watch your games? Yeah. Will I buy any of your merchandise ever? Absolutely not.
you. Well, we can't afford it.
Even if I can afford it. I mean, even if you were selling it in Walmart, I'm not even doing it no more. I'm just not. But you have to remember that the NFL is a good old boys community.
Absolutely.
They protected Snyder, who was just flat scum. Um, Isley, who
Don't
the
start me
owner of
on
the
Jerry Jones. Please
No,
don't start me on Jerry Jones. I could go a whole hour on him, and
no,
I'm not.
no. Jerry Jones is in a world of himself, world of his own. But the owner of the Indianapolis Colts,
Jim Irsay.
Ursay, who could drive around high, who could drive around drunk, who could do all this thing, putting himself and other people in danger, and you get a slap on the wrist. It's a good old boys network. Yeah, they can agree what you did was bad and terrible and dangerous and life threatening, but you're with us. And we
Yep.
can't make if you can't make us look bad. So we'll chastise you a little bit, but don't do it no more. And they'll move on until the next situation occur where
Uh,
a player gets more emphasis on kneeling than an owner who is driving drunk.
yep. And
So
can we say for the record, Colin Kaepernick was right the whole time? Can we just say that and just just
I
let's
don't
just
think we need to put that on the record. He's been right the whole
no,
time.
because you got some of your NFL fans still. He should stand up for the. No, he shouldn't. Shut up. But
Okay, make me.
yeah, yeah, and I sit down all the time. I'm like, nope, don't feel like standing. No reason to. But I wanted to,
The thing I do is I stand up and salute because I was in the military.
and I wasn't. So I don't.
So that's how I get around to it. And the only reason in the back of my mind, I'm saluting the fallen soldiers.
Yeah,
Who
but yeah, you know what? I wonder a couple of things. One, what other owners' emails are out there lurking?
they're
And two, who is this? Where is this gonna stop at? Because
I
he,
hope it stops. I hope it stops here. Like I said,
I don't think it will.
I still find it fascinating. You was investigating the oh, what is Dia said? Oh, yep,
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 all the time.
yeah. When it comes to let's be realistic about it. John Gruden resigned for John Gruden's sake.
No, John Gruden resigned because he was about to get fired.
Either way, because I'm thinking to he resigning because he didn't want the backlash anymore. It was a cowardly move because he knew if he'd have stayed on that team, if nothing would have happened, there was no way this man was ever going to do a news conference ever again, and this was not going to come up. He would have got so sick of this question, and for me, so because this is the news now. You are a racist. You are a homophobe who's coaching a team of black people and gay people. Some. And you don't think this question? No, he was a coward. He ran. He got
Yeah,
out of Dodge.
that
He did not want to stand up into the limelight anymore. So he got out of there.
yeah
Now,
that
will he
whole
have a coaching gig in the NFL? Absolutely not.
yeah I might disagree with you slightly. I don't think the emails stop here. I think there's more of them. I think there's so many owners that are undercover racists.
Oh no, 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 no. I do. What I'm saying, I'm not saying there's not more. I just said I think they're gonna stop. I really
Well, if
think
you're
if they don't.
stupid enough to send an email, like, boy, don't you know what,
What did
you
I
gonna
what did
send
I
an
say,
email?
Tracy? What did I say? It was the good old boys network. It
But
wasn't
you know
supposed to
you
get
can't.
out. You were
The
supposed to be protected.
and the two people he sent it to, they were protecting him from 2011 until 2018.
The bad part about it is, will he ever get another NFL college?
Nope,
No. 5 years from now, will he get a college job? Maybe.
probably.
Yeah.
He'll probably get. No, what'll happen is he'll disappear for a year, do a podcast, then get a college job. Because he'll hope that something else distracts, and unfortunately, it always
Some
does.
some college. I mean, let's face it, everyone. Who is the coach of is it Miami? No.
Are you talking Alabama?
Myers. That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, you're talking about the Jacksonville Jaguars coach, Ron.
Jaguars. I knew it was somewhere in Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you can hire Myers, who I even play a little game with everybody. Name a redeeming quality of Myers. Just one. Just just one.
He
And
won a
don't say
champ.
coaching. Don't say coaching.
Oh, a
Because
redeeming
he can
personal
coach
quality.
college. He can't do jack squat in the pros. He has
Um,
name a
mm.
redeeming quality of Myers.
He's been married to the same woman for over 10 years.
Because she don't want to leave him. And it's because of the money. It ain't because of no reasoning.
I know, but you said name a redeeming quality.
That
I'm
ain't a,
like, okay.
that ain't a redeeming quality. That was
All his children have his same last name.
we don't know if that's his
Yeah, we
children.
don't know that either. Wait
We
a
don't know
minute.
that.
Okay, I can't think of one.
Exactly. And he got a job. See,
He got a job
the
because Jacksonville
the
is stupid.
backstory of that strip joint, which is really funny. There's a backstory to him being caught in a strip joint.
Yeah, that I didn't even want to get into that. I was like, dude, your team is 0-5, I think. Yeah, they're 0-5.
No, they
You
haven't won
have
the game. They haven't won
huh?
the game. They haven't won.
No, they're 0-5. Don't you think when you fly with your team, you're supposed to be in that plane with your team.
Yep.
It's not in your written job description, but you should understand that's where you need to be. You don't need to be in a if you want to get a lap dance, there's two people you need to get it from. Your spouse, which would be okay, but I don't need to hear about it. Or go someplace where there's no cameras and nobody has a phone. What are you doing?
You should nowhere these days.
You're gonna go to some public place and get taped with. How do you explain that to your player? Yeah, I was at a strip club. How's he gonna even tell anybody anything? Who's gonna listen to him? This will be by the end of the year. I guarantee he will not be coaching in the NFL.
I don't think he make it to the end of the year.
Because this is terrible. Not every college coach can coach at the NFL level. Look at Nick Saban. Nick Saban coached with the Dolphins. A year and a half. He got fired. He was coaching LSU, came back, coached Alabama. Look at all the success he's had with Alabama. He can duplicate it
But
in the NFL because that's a different level.
just to get back on track, this is what I mean by the NFL is the good old boys network. This is what I mean when I say they protect their own. Just me and Tracy just pointed out several pieces of low life individuals and the acts that they have, and they're still employed in some kind of way, shape, or fashion. And I know Gruden is not employed, but I can also say Gruden is not employed now.
Yeah, because somebody's going to hire him.
Emails that he sent out didn't happen last year or
Nope.
6 months ago. That was years of those emails going on. And I believe personally, a lot more people knew about them emails than what's coming out right now.
Exactly.
So they protect their own.
Absolutely.
So that's why I'm saying I don't think they're going to look for any more email because they know personally they know they're going to find more. You can't help it. They've been protected for so long. There's no way you're not going to find more, and there's no way they're going to want to be embarrassed anymore.
Yeah, John Gruden knows things are going bad for him when OJ talks about you. You should just wrap it up, go hide in someplace, because when your name comes out of OJ's mouth, you really done messed up.
OJ said something about this.
Yeah, and I'm like, hey, dude, that got away with 2 murders. So why don't you just, keep it quiet?
What did he say?
He said something like, oh, they should have fired him. He's racist, blah, 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 blah. I forget what the whole thing is.
It's totally irrelevant. I'm just shocked that OJ said something.
Yep, things have got to be bad. And what I hate is the false comparisons that, of course, the right always has. They have these two comparisons. Oh, well, you all didn't say that, and they mean you all, they probably mean, no, I'm going to backtrack that. I'm going to talk about one of my least favorite people. And Lord knows I try to have love in my heart for everybody, but it's some people I got to try real hard. Jason Whitlock absolutely makes me sick. Jason Whitlock is a reporter. He's
Yeah.
African American. To me, his only goal is I'm going to trash every black person in the entire world. So Randy Moss, and a couple other people talked about the John Gruden situation. And Randy Moss is like, this is really impactful. He shouldn't have said that. He should be fired, et cetera, et cetera. And Whitlock goes in on him and says, oh, you're weak. You're showing that words matter. Well, sorry, Jason, they do matter. You have to watch the whole interview because people like him they really
So what
scratch
you're
it.
saying is, you could call us the N word. We need to move on.
Yes,
You
that's
call us
basically
out
what
the
he
name
said.
and you can move on. And I guarantee you, Whitlock, if somebody says the exact same thing to you, I guarantee
Oh no, I'm gonna
you're
disagree
gonna
with you.
lose your ever loving mind.
No, I guarantee he won't because he's so far in the Sambo field. He'll be like, "Ooh, you call me that? Thank you, white person. Thank you.
Yeah,
I really do."
you have to be. The email has to be
That's to be
sent.
sent to someone crew. And
Um,
why are they communicating by email? I'm like, y'all don't know what text messaging is? You
again,
get yourself a burner
because
phone.
you're living in a society where you're protected. These
Mm-mm-mm.
emails were not supposed to get out. It was supposed to be a one-on-one conversation. If you're sitting there talking about the email, imagine what was said over the phone.
Probably. And he was sending porn, which I'm like, aren't you married? Well, maybe your spouse is okay with you sending porn.
No,
I don't know.
no, I got a better question. Aren't you a grown man? Why are you sending porn?
Yeah,
What
like
is
what are
the
you,
matter with
13?
you? Why are you sending porn?
Yeah, so like I said, I think there's more emails. I think some reporter that's just tenacious is gonna find them, and I would not be surprised if some more head coaches were following what's happened to group. I will nothing surprises me anymore. Nothing.
You know how bad the Washington football team have to be if Ron Rivera can't fix it?
They're terrible. I mean, they were terrible when Schneider was there. They finally forced him out, but they're terrible.
The football team?
He's not.
Snyder's still there.
I thought they decreased his role.
He said he increased his role.
No,
He's still there.
decrease.
I meant decrease, sorry. He said he decreased his role. He's still there. He decreased his.
He's still
That
there.
was the whole concept of, and I saw it coming. Everybody under him that was implemented in all this racist and majority of it was sexist stuff. Once he got rid of those people, Snyder just pretty much figured, yeah, I'm not selling. I'm just gonna ease back into the line, just ease back into the darkness, and I'm gonna pretend like I don't have anything to do with the football team, even though the football team looks the exact same way it did when you was in the spotlight.
No, they're a little better. They're a little better this year than they were last
They
year. A
always
little
look a
better.
little better every year, and then they suck again. Oh no, we suck again.
Yeah, but see, last year they won what 5 games, whatever it is they won.
79 and made it to the playoffs.
Oh, you going way back. Last thing I wanted to talk about before we go. Gotta talk about this. I just got one question for Theus is watching. Why does Joe Biden keep sending Kamala Harris overseas? She is not built to go overseas. They need to stop sending her overseas because she keep doing stupid stuff.
Joe Biden got to keep Kamala Harris out of the spotlight.
He doing a good job of because he's making her look terrible. I'm like, oh my gosh. I know she has to go because technically speaking, he can replace her at any time he felt like it. But dang, I'm like, oh, she should not. She needs to shut up. Keep her in the United States where she can kind of talk, but don't send her overseas no more.
Well, I don't know what the story is. So what did she do now?
Well, wait a minute, hold on a second, because is that really hard to outshine Biden? I mean, really, it's not really hard to do. It's
No,
not a hard thing to do to
Joe,
outshine Biden.
Joe Manchin and Kristen Cinema is outshining
Yeah,
Biden.
that's what I was like cinema
That's not a
and
hard thing to
yeah,
do.
it's like, is it really hard? But she went was she in Europe or was she in yeah, I think she was in Europe. And the look on her face, because I'll send you the video. Oh my goodness. I'm like, she's struggling. Remember when she went to was it Ecuador and she basically told the immigrants don't come in? She made that trip look like the Treaty of Versailles. This one, I'm like, oh no, sit down. I mean, I was feeling bad for it, and I'm not a Kamala Harris fan at all. I was like, ooh, stop, don't do this to her no more.
Well, to be honest with you, it's not going to matter. If the Democrats can't get their crap together, it'll be a Republican Senate in Congress in 2022. So you can keep her here, you can send her there, you can build her a house in Canada. It ain't gonna matter, not one bit.
Yeah,
No
that
matter
that's
no matter what Biden want, he ain't gonna get it. You ain't even getting it now. But we had a majority, and you ain't getting
exactly.
it. So it don't matter where you send it.
Yep.
It's gonna
Well,
be fine.
yep, audience, I got to talk about all these things on this list. I went over them briefly, but it was a long list to talk about. I mean, I had a lot. And some of them I didn't feel like I got into, and I'm going to get into them later. But Merlin, I want to thank you for coming on. And I want to thank everyone that watched this podcast. Join me next Thursday, Thursdays with Tracy. And remember to like, share, subscribe, comment, and support us on Patreon. Thanks, Marlon, and have a fantastic evening.